She was doing everything right. She had the smoothies, the supplements, the steps, even the workout gear. And still, she felt awful. Her brain was foggy. Her mood was all over the place. She cried at the drop of a hat. And she was exhausted. The type, though, of exhaustion that a good night's sleep just can't touch. On the outside, she looked like a wellness success story. But inside, she felt like she was falling apart. And then she said it. The line that I've heard more times than I can count. Maybe I'm just not trying hard enough. That moment never gets easier, because when somebody says that, they're not just tired. They're carrying the weight of a system that told them that if they just tried harder, they'd feel better. And I know that story well. I'm a naturopathic doctor. I help humans through burnout and their changing seasons of life, and I help organizations build wellness strategies. I prescribe supplements. I'm pro-medication. But more than anything, I care about one thing, and that's the quality of your life. And that day, sitting across from her like so many others, I felt the weight of something I've always known. We're not just solving the wrong problem or asking the wrong question, we're fundamentally misunderstanding the entire point. Over the last few decades, we've dissected wellness into things that can be tracked and measured. We've buried ourselves in data, chasing the perfect combination, as if wellness is a formula we can crack. How many steps, how much deep sleep, how much protein, how much cardio we should be doing alone on our treadmills. Optimized, but isolated. But 50 to 80% of our health outcomes, they're not determined solely by our behavior. They're shaped by the environment we live in and our community, how close we live to parks and wooded areas, grocery stores and schools, rec centers and transportation systems. But also whether we feel supported and loved and challenged in the right ways and seen. This piece is missing from the conversation. Because somewhere along the line, we stopped valuing being and we started chasing doing. We began measuring worth by output instead of presence, and that shift, it changed everything. It made us think that if we just do more, we'll feel better. But you can't yoga your way through a toxic job, and you can't green smoothie your way through loneliness, and you can't supplement your way through burnout if your life doesn't allow for recovery. Wellness isn't a box to check. It's not a ring to close. It's not actually something you can achieve. It's something you live with. It moves, it adapts, it shifts, it breathes with your life, expanding when you have the capacity to give, and softening with grace when you don't. Because wellness isn't rigid, it's responsive. And as we start to rebuild this definition, this relationship with what it means to be well, I want you to imagine something simple. A ripple on the water. When I was a kid, my grandfather and I would cross the train tracks across from his house and spend a lot of time by the water. We'd stand on the shore and we'd throw stones into the lake, watching the ripples stretch and fade. As I got older, that game changed. He started asking me questions like, did you see how far that ripple went? What do you think stopped it? Would a bigger rock make a bigger ripple, or just a really big splash? And then he asked, what happens if you keep throwing small stones into the same spot? When you throw a stone into water, you see the shift on the surface. Sometimes a ripple, sometimes a splash. But beneath the surface, there's a quiet rearranging, a subtle reshaping of the environment below. Even the smallest of stones can make a mark. And when you throw those stones again and again in the same direction, the current itself begins to change. That's how it starts to show up in our real life. You pause before an overreaction. You choose with a clearer head. You feel enough energy for that 5 to 9 after that 9 to 5. That kind of change doesn't come from one big grand gesture. It comes from small ones. Repeated, intentional, sustainable. Still though, we're taught to aim for the splash. Throw a bigger rock, make a bigger wave. But those big stones, yeah, they're flashy, they're loud, they look impressive. But they're exhausting. A big splash might move the water once, but it doesn't sustain you. And you could throw a boulder today. You might even feel great about it. But what about tomorrow? What about next week? You'll burn out trying to live in big, bold moments all the time. Instead, when small actions ripple outward again and again, they shift the terrain. They shape the rhythm. They make momentum possible. And over time, that current moves differently. That's how culture shifts, how capacity builds not by force, but by flow. Reshaped from the inside out and grounded by what's beneath. One of my patients, managing a high-pressure job and a ton of family responsibilities, started a shift in her entire office culture with a pot of coffee and a sticky note that simply said, "It's nice to be here with you." She didn't call it self-care. She didn't put it on the Slack channel. She didn't do it as part of a wellness program. And when she told me, she almost sheepishly said, "This doesn't feel like it's enough." But then a few weeks later, another note showed up, then muffins, and then a policy change showed that Monday mornings were for coffee and catch-ups, not meetings. They became a pause, a ritual, a shared moment, not a program, not a strategy, a way of being, of seeing each other. And all of a sudden, the current was changing because it's not just burnout that spreads. Belonging does too. And you don't have to look far to see it in action. The blue zones, the regions of the world where people live the longest. It's not the tech or the tracking or the optimization that makes the difference. It's community. Shared meals, multi-generational homes, people who notice when you don't show up. They're not optimizing. They're connected. They're consistent. And it works. Strong social ties, longer lifespans. Supportive workplaces, up to 40% less burnout. Walkable neighborhoods, less chronic illness. That's not just willpower. It's a ripple effect impacting wellness, creating a rhythm with the people around you. And that rhythm that we create, it becomes our safety net. Because not all waters are calm. Some are shaped by grief, by chaos, by bad days and bad luck and expectations we never agreed to and never signed up for. Some waters overwhelm. Some days you're just trying not to drown. And in that kind of water, even your strongest effort can feel like it disappears. It's easy to believe like you're falling behind, like your small efforts don't count, that wellness was designed for someone else, someone with fewer storms to weather. But it's not. Because even in the middle of rough waters, you're not the only one creating ripples. And when your ripple gets swallowed, someone else's reaches you. That's the power of community. It fills the gap where your own effort can't. Because sometimes one ripple isn't enough. But together, we can create a current. And that current, it's not just made of what we're facing. It's also made of who's facing it with us. The text that says, "I've got you," the moment someone remembers your name, the muffins that show up on Monday. Because the antidote to burnout isn't just rest, it's relationship. And yes, your tools matter. The supplement that helps you sleep, the walk that clears your mind, the medication that gets you through your day. Those are real. They matter. But tools alone can't build capacity. You do that in rhythm with others beside you, with one act of care, and then another, and another. Because a ripple doesn't go far in a storm, but it doesn't have to if enough of us are rippling together. Because wellness, real sustainable wellness, it was never meant to be earned. It was meant to be lived, to be shared, to be practiced in real life by real people in real moments. Not prescribed, not optimized, not perfect. Just honest, just consistent, just enough. You don't need a master plan. You don't need the perfect morning or evening routine. You just need a beginning. One quiet choice, one small act of care, one ripple thrown from a tiny stone on purpose. Because culture doesn't shift all at once, and capacity doesn't rebuild overnight, and change does not have to be loud to be life-changing. So, if you're wondering where to begin where you are. Begin with what you have and the people around you. Ask yourself, what's a ripple I can start today? What's a ripple I can amplify from somebody else? And what can sustain into tomorrow? Because the ripple starts right here. Thank you.